Live from our studios in Kingstown, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines, it's your favorite Thursday night show, Up Late with Sehon Marshall. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the host of tonight's show, Sehon Marshall.
Welcome and good night. Thank you so much for joining tonight's program, Up Late with Sehon Marshall. It's always a pleasure to have you guys joining with us. Now, I'm going to ask you to do something for me tonight when you log on. I'm going to ask you to say where you're watching from. So if it's St. Vincent, don't just say St. Vincent, right? And I'll probably repeat this because many individuals may not have logged on yet. So I'm going to repeat this. Maybe I should make the announcement a little later. But yes, so I see Valmy. I wanted to see where you're watching from, whether it's New York, Pennsylvania, Boston. If you're in the UK, say where in the UK. If you're watching from St. Vincent, say where from St. Vincent. I want you to represent tonight, saying where you're from. All right, let me welcome you to tonight's episode of Up Late with Sehon Marshall. I promise you, we have a really exciting show for you tonight. I promise you that. You will enjoy it. So what I always encourage you to do is share the live. Don't we're on Facebook. So to share the show, you have to copy the link and put it on your Facebook page or put it on your WhatsApp status and so on. That's what I do. Now, my good partner, Denny, in Leeward, he said to me, he said, man, Sehon, one thing I like with the show now, man. Let me big up Denny from Tromoka. He said, when they start, for the first couple of minutes, he does the damn thing and he does their waste time and thing. I want to go straight into it. So I said, Denny, well, hey, the thing with the program is that few couple of minutes is the time I am taking to share the program on my different platforms, on WhatsApp and Facebook and so forth. And I'm also allowing individuals to share it on their platforms as well. All right. So I can't start. And then maybe, a lot of the people ain't logged on yet. They ain't getting notification yet. So I want to jump right in the program. And then when I do that, individuals miss a whole part of the program. So I give them that time. So this is the time I'm going to give you to share the program, copy the link. So I'm going to my YouTube program, my YouTube right now. I'm going to copy the link and I'm going to share it to my Facebook page, to my WhatsApp page and so forth, so that as many people as possible are able to log on. I tell you something. So many individuals meet me in town every single day. Let me say good night to the lady who met me on the income tax and told me that she'll be waiting patiently tonight for the program. Now I realize, not everybody who watched this program, or let me put it the other way. Actually, let me not mix them up. So let me go one time, right? FC, you got when you log on, the announcement is when you log on and you say good night. Once you say good night, once you comment, say where you're watching from. All right, FC Revive, just say where you're watching from. Right. So the thing is, that lady who met me in the post office and all of the others who every night, that gentleman who met me yesterday morning and asked me about why I'm only doing 1 hour and how they can contribute, how we can contribute and support the program. Thank you so much for all the support. Listen, the numbers for the program have been growing really well on YouTube. And I gotta keep thanking you guys every single Thursday for the support that you're giving me. Every single Thursday, because the numbers keep going up and going up and going up. And I'm really proud to see what we are building Up Late with Sehon Marshall. It couldn't be anything without you. So I really thank you. Those of you who are still considering activating membership, again, you can go on the YouTube, activating membership. There's a $3.99 membership and there's a $6.99 membership. It's up to you to choose which one you want. That will be billed to your card every single month as you support the program. If you want to give a financial contribution to the program, I ain't going to stop you. If you live in the US, North America and so forth, I can give you a US account that you can sell it to. Just message me on Facebook. I can tell you that. And just if you see me in town and you feel like putting it in your pocket and give me a change, I will refuse you, lad. But anyhow, so those of you who are Valjan, listen, you gotta tell me where you're watching from when you comment. See where you're watching from. Anyway, so let me there is well, I know where you're watching from, but I want you to come on, indicate where you're watching from. I'm watching from San Hill, I'm watching from Leyu, I'm watching from Chateau, wherever you're watching from. indicates that individuals know, listen, this program hotting up the head so bad. So I want to know that people are watching this program. Anyway, I share it. So let me go and share to my Facebook page, which is the first place I would share. That is shared right there. Then I'm going to go back and share to my WhatsApp. And I share to both my WhatsApp and my WhatsApp business. I share to the status so that people can log on. Right? I keep sharing, and I want to do the same thing. All right, we have some people, it's building up nicely. So I give a few minutes while you share and while I share so that people can come and log on to the program. All right, let's do some more sharing. I believe I am almost done with the sharing. Let's see now. I copy the link and I go to Instagram. I'm sharing there as well so that individuals who are on Instagram can all, what do we have here? Story, 1, 2, link, done, paste, done. Instagram is there. So it's on Instagram and Facebook. Then we go to, having copied the link there, we also go to my my post. Where are we now? Create a post. This is on the Uplift with Sehon Marshall page. I'm going to post that there too. And my partner, Shut a Song, does want me post. So y'all with me? Y'all with me so far? I come in just now. We got this. And yes, Terry, I promise you, I will get somebody to do it. No problem. Yeah. Story. No. Wait. I am trying to do this one on TikTok. This one on TikTok. But I can't get TikTok one out. So TikTok one is kind of troubling me. I don't know what's going on. Text. Okay. Paste. So I guess it's a story on TikTok. Yes, story. There we go. All right, good. So I think I'm all over the place now. I'm well posted. And let me thank you guys for joining. Now, while I was on the post office this morning, 2 ladies met me, and they said to me, one of them quite politely, because I was speaking with some comrades, and one of them quite politely asked, can you 1 second, please? So I said, sure. They said, you didn't mind would us be I said, present, please. They said, yes, present, please. I love that program there. They both shook my hand. And listen, and while I was there at the post office, the number of individuals who passed by and just simply acknowledge me by those 2 words, present please. That program, that short thing is just going viral. It's just, so many individuals are taking to it. They're sharing it, they're commenting on it and so forth. And it's hotting up people's head. And I love it. I'm triggering them. My comments are triggering them. My commentaries are triggering them. My presence triggering them. I'm being cussed out. I'm being told that my breadline get cut and all kind of thing. Simply because individuals decide to stand up and criticize a government that's in office. Something that they did for years. So again, I'm thanking you so much for your support. Remember, you can activate a membership if you want to support this program financially. You can also contribute if you want to, send some money to the program. You can do that. It's an independent program. I know sponsorship. I do it every week, and it does cost. So if you feel like contributing to the program, like somebody they said met me yesterday and expressed a willingness to do so, just contact me. Send me a message on Facebook or whatever, and we could discuss how we can do that. All right? Because this program is here for you. It is going to be here. It ain't going nowhere. God's willing, once I'm alive and I'm healthy, it is going to be here dealing with the issues. All right? Good. So let me talk a little bit because we have things to talk about. And I'm going to deal with 2 matters, and I believe that they are linked to each other. right? They are linked to each other. So let me go back here and let me see how me looking here now. I have to make sure. Oh, yes. All right. No. All right. People from Prospect, people from Daphne, from Home, from Cedars, from OEA. Whoa, from OEA. Good night, OEA locked on. From Toronto, from Brooklyn, from Oakland, California. My boy Kojo. Who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? All right. So whenever you come on, just listen, just see what you are, and my director will make sure put those up on the screen so that individuals can see that we have a wide cross section of viewers all across the globe, and they're tuned in to Update with Sehon Marshall. All right. Now, during the 25 years of opposition of the NDP, one of the things that they did quite well, Green Hill, big up. One of the things, director, please, when they log on and they indicate where they viewing from, just highlight it for me, please, so that we can highlight the individuals who are on and where they're from. All right? Thank you so much. One of the things that the NDP did during the time in opposition was build up what I would refer to as a straw man, or rather straw men. They put a lot of emphasis on focus on appointments by the ULP, any appointment. Now, I want you to keep in mind that when the ULP came into office, there was no rush to kick anybody out from where they were. And I like to use as the prime example the office of the Prime Minister. I can use that because I worked there for a while. I became pretty close to individuals who were there. They became my family, especially during COVID, when we were there, COVID and volcanic eruptions, when we were the only ones going there because of the schedule of the Prime Minister. We became really close. So they're my family. And so I'd use that as the example. And Dr. Gonsalves, former Prime Minister, now opposition leader, has always made the point that when he went to the office of the Prime Minister, he met two ladies there. He met Miss Angela Mercury, who was the secretary to former Prime Minister Mitchell, and he met Angie Williams, the secretary to Arnhem Eustace. Apparently, Angie had worked with Arnhem while he was he was Minister of Finance, and he moved up to the office of the Prime Minister with him. That's 2001. I got there in 2019, and Angela Mercury and Angie Williams was still at the office of the Prime Minister. As a matter of fact, Angela Mercury, who was the secretary of former Prime Minister Mitchell, retired as a permanent secretary at the office of the Prime Minister. Angie Jackson, again, who was, as Prime Minister put it, a young secretary for the then Prime Minister Arnhem Eustace, moving up with him as Foreign Minister, again, is currently a permanent secretary in the office of the Prime Minister, at least up until the time when the elections were held. So both individuals who were there with former Prime Ministers, who it could be safely assumed were close or trusted confidence of those Prime Ministers, because you ain't got somebody who you don't trust as your secretary, were kept on by the ULP administration led by Ralph Gonsalves in their exact positions or locations at the office of the Prime Minister and rose through the ranks at the office of the Prime Minister. I want you to keep that in mind. Because propaganda is propaganda, but facts are facts. So Angie Williams, who I left there when I left the office of the Prime Minister in 2023, I left as a permanent secretary in the office of the Prime Minister. And Angela Mercury, who I met there, retired at the level of permanent secretary as well. Both individuals going through the ranks at that office, even after the government changed. So I can speak for that office. We can also speak to the fact that Mr. Maurice Edwards, who was the Director General of Finance and Planning, who was met there by Dr. Gonzalez, retired as the Director General of Finance and Planning. And you could talk of other individuals who had their positions, public service positions, senior positions, and they were there and they walked through there, and some of them retired. A lot of them some of them are still working. So there was no rush to victimize or move anybody. It wasn't about, this is our time. And according to Lance, he gave his name, Caesar. By the way, somebody check on Lance Caesar, because I heard something not so pleasant about him today. So check on him, please. Make sure you're okay. According to Lance, there was no rush to move Labour people and put NDP people on top. But the NDP spent a lot of time building up this trauma, building this lie that somehow the positions that were being appointed within the public service were all ULP supporters. Any position, any appointment was met with criticism. When it came to boards, the situation that was created regarding boards, the whole discussion and narrative created around boards, was that these board positions were these fantastic cushy positions that ULP were just giving out to hacks. And so it was believed that somehow anybody and everybody could go on board. There was never a discussion about the competence, the qualifications of anybody on any board. It was just, gravy train. That is why, for example, individuals come to my inbox, individuals comment on my commentary, and some of their comments include, you're no longer on the gravy train. One young lady, I can't remember her name, she said a bread line get cut. So I asked her, I say, my bread line get cut. I said, but if that was so, let's say if that is the case, why are you rejoicing that somebody is another human being bread line get cut? I said, my bread line get cut since the elections. You're saying we lose the elections and now my bread line get cut. I say, I've actually, and it is interesting, viewers, that it appears many people seem not to know that I left the employment of the government since 2023. I left St. Vincent in December of 2023. I resigned my position as press secretary at the Office of the Prime Minister in 2023. I was out of St. Vincent Grange for 15 months. I came back in March last year. And for a few months, I had an internship at the Attorney General's chambers, as many young, new barristers do, lawyers do. But I'm not employed with the government. But there's this notion, the vindictiveness, there's this notion that somehow, now that election's done, see and lose the work, see and lose the gravy. And I remember, I told you guys this already on one of the programs. Even a comrade in about commas, was telling me that, I suck the berries. I support the party. I believe I'm a very certified individual with lots of experience in different areas. I held positions in the administration. Now, mind you, keep in mind that I'm a teacher of 11 years. Then I was a public servant for about 4 years at the Ministry of Telecommunications. Then I left, started my own business. I went to do some studies and so on. When I came back, I was appointed as the Deputy Consul General in New York and then a counselor at the United Nations mission. Jobs. When I was appointed Deputy Consul General, and I'm not making this about me, but I want you to understand. When I was appointed Deputy Consul General and then counselor, I was appointed with a master's in international relations. I had a master's in international relations when I was appointed. I wasn't somebody with 5 O-levels or to keep. I had a master's in international relations. When I came back home and I was appointed press secretary, I had a master's in international relations and I had a master's in law when I was appointed press secretary. So by this time, I had 2 master's degrees. And yes, I was on a statutory board, 2 statutory boards, by the way, based on in this case, the office I held, because I was press secretary. But I was being referred to as some hack, some nothing body who sucking the berries. I had jobs, I was qualified, I was being paid. So for years, the point I'm making is that the NDP created this, built up this thing that it's about the hacks, the party hacks. Oh, you're on board and you're sucking berries. And that was creating a situation where their supporters started to feel expectant, entitled that whenever my party win, ULP had to move all them hacks, or the new government rather, the NDP has to move all of those hacks that Labour appointed, get rid of all of them, and appoint me to them boards and this and that and so forth. I remember when Rodney Small was appointed to the CDC, and I thought it's one of the best appointments that the ULP made within recent years. The discussion around Rodney Small, a guy who had gone to Jamaica, did the studies, did well, came back, developed a show over a number of years to one of the biggest shows in the country at the end of the year. I mean, they made it sound as if Rodney Small was nothing, that he didn't know what he was doing. That's what they did for 25 years. They made it appear that these appointments were about rewards. So anybody who the ULP appointed to a board was a reward. The head of the NIS, a gentleman by the name of Lennox Bowman. This is a man who managed GECO for years and built GECO into one of the strongest cooperatives in the country, with a solid membership, with a solid asset base. Apparently, Bowman was a hack, a ULP hangers-on, a lick boots. No discussion about the merit to the appointment of Mr. Bowman. And we could go down the boards. And people who were on boards. A lot of individuals who were on boards were there, again, as a result of their offices. So Glenn, for example, who was at the Tourism Authority, was on boards, different boards, AIA and so on, because the board, so a lot of these boards specify who to be on them. FSA, boards specify who to be on them, the composition of the board, what offices and so forth. So there are some private individuals, but the board, the organization, the legislation that creates the organization specifies the office. The Director of Finance and Planning is almost on every board. And it's not because that individual is a hack of the ULP, it's because the Office of Director of Finance and Planning is represented on these boards, whoever the person is. I remember Annette Mark as Invest SVG and so forth. The executive director of Invest SVG, not the body, not the person, the office holder, the office is represented on AIA board. The office. But you never had that discussion. It was never presented in that manner by the NDP. The idea was that these were all political rewards for their hacks and their hangers-on. Clearly, apparently, people of no merit, people of no qualification, people of no vote, just because they say Labour and they had Labour card, they get on board. So after preaching that for so many years, obviously, the supporters of the NDP are expecting that, well, whenever my party will know, I've been marching up and down in the hot sun and in all the thing and during COVID and in all the years of the wilderness. I've been marching up and down my party. So I have to be rewarded. And then the list drop. Boom. And to the dismay, disappointment, anger of many, they look at the list and it appears that the hard political workers, there's no reward. You see names of individuals who, as many of them argue, weren't there in the struggles with the party. And so in the minds of the supporters, why are you rewarding these people? Because remember now, the NDP don't create the impression that a board appointment is a political reward for a hack. And so NDP supporters who fought the good fight and struggled for the years are going, but Stephen Joe came into hack. How he reached there? As a matter of fact, he spent so many years criticizing the NDP and calling them old. How he get that? And they start to go, what? Wife of minister, husband of minister, brother of minister, sister of minister, brother of other appointee people. Like, what is going on? It seems that they have chosen, and that is where the conflict came. They have chosen to reward a small select group of people. And that is why the uproar came. And so now, I laughed. I found it hilarious when Hot 97 decided to bring Stephen Joachim on. And all of a sudden, discussion was about Stephen's qualifications to be on a board. When did we ever hear in the last 25 years any discussion about someone's qualifications and what they actually... Is Stephen Joachim more qualified than Bowman? What is the discussion about? Are you trying to say that Stephen Joachim is so superior to Lennox Bowman as a chairman? To be fair chairman? But it all started because of the dishonesty and the deception of the NDP in creating the campaign against the ULP was so fraught with deception that they didn't realize they were building a straw man that would come back to haunt them. So, people, there is no discussion about qualifications. All people are wondering, why are you rewarding Stephen Joachim and not me? Why are you rewarding Brian Alexander and not me? These are some of the names on the list, by the way. Why are you rewarding Luan Hathaway and Luan Hathaway's husband and not me? If Kishore Shallow's wife is on the board, why she and not me? Why Carly John and not me? What have they done? Or what is so special about them? Kishore is already a minister, don't need to reward his wife. Sehon is already a minister, you don't need to reward her husband. And I'm telling you, I'm framing the discussion that they're having for you, Let me say so. Because, like I said on Present Please yesterday, the uproar is not coming from ULP supporters. No, all you in government is 14-1, appoint whoever you want to. I mentioned on this program, I was on the board of the National Broadcasting Corporation and the National Telecommunication Regulatory Commission. Took boards. I will tell you, it's the second time I'm serving on the NTRC board. The first time I served as the chair of commissioners. That was back in 2010. And I left when I went to study. So I came back a second time when I came back. Because of my expertise in IT and telecoms and so forth, I was reappointed to the board when I came back. And similarly, as someone who was in the office of the Prime Minister, press secretary. But just in case people didn't know, Glenn was on the board of NBC Radio. Hans before me was on the board of NBC Radio and so on. So there usually is a representative from the office of the Prime Minister on the board that appears. And that's public thing. I know, hide and seek nothing. And I said, after the government won, I will not resign, not in defiance. Not in defiance. But I wasn't being defiant. I wasn't saying, I resign. No. I wasn't going to rush to resign. Because, first of all, I'm not going to create the impression that this is about politics and I'm refusing to work with you. However, I fully expected to be removed from both boards. And so when the boards, well, first of all, the boards expired in December. So when an NDP hack decided to come after me on Facebook about coming to the front and on the boards and how much more I had, I was no longer on the board. I'd already been, well, the board had already expired. And I didn't go anywhere and talk about victimization. The new boards have been constituted. I'm on neither of them. I wish the new boards well. That's fine. So me never make no noise. I don't think anybody who was removed from any of the boards made noise. The noise was made by the supporters of the NDP who felt that they were not sufficiently rewarded, that the wrong people were being rewarded, that the NDP, the party that we warned them, were not for the ordinary man, but was in fact, or is in fact, for its elitist friends and its narrow sphere of influence. They didn't believe we. They're seeing it now. You see a post by my good friend Kenlin. Now, listen to me, Kenlin is NDP, but Kenlin, he just tell people I'm like he's like my brother. And the truth is, Kenlin is extremely close to my mother. From a little boy, I've known Ken. From a little boy. And very respectful, we good. And I nobody will make me feel too uncomfortable to address Kenlin in public. Because I've known him all my life. So I could refer to Kenlin, I know you ain't gonna cuss me. You go say, Sehon, what you call me on the program for? But that's all right. Kenlin posted that it's not a slap in the face of NDP supporters, it's a kick up their rear. That's how aggrieved he feels by what he saw from these posts, from the appointment to these boards. And you could go along to the young lady who was a teacher, I can't remember her name, but she did a live and people sent me excerpts and she said that it has to be fake. It has to be fake. She said, why some a Mason or a Samuel somewhere can't get appointed? Why it has to be the Horns and the Hadaways and the Valentines? Why? But we warned you all that NDP is about the elitism. And more things would come to pass because the NDP is going to look after that very narrow circle. That's how they are. And that's why they hated the ULP, because the ULP expanded the middle class and expanded the circle. So the lawyers were no longer children of lawyers. The lawyers were everybody's children. The doctors were no longer children of doctors, but the doctors were everybody's children. I'm proud when I go into North Leeward and I meet my partner, I'm Dr. Murray. A boy whose father is a farmer tradesman. Farmer is a tradesman as well. From Fichus, everybody know Murray. Cool youth, man. I'm proud of that. The other day, my daughter was in Chateaubelair. She got ill. She was at the hospital in Chateaubelair. When I go to pick up my daughter, who me see? Glenette, student of mine, product of Chateaubelair. I'm proud of that. But the NDP did not like that. You see, the expansion of the middle class was hurting their egos and their sense of superiority. They want it back. in that very narrow circle of elites and wannabe elites. Me want to be none of them group there. And so all of a sudden, Kenlin and the others are realizing, hold on. What do we? It's the same names. It's a cycle, it's the same names. You remember under Mitchell, under former Prime Minister Mitchell, one of his ministers, John Horn to be exact, had buildings around Kingstown that housed a number of things for the government. You had the building that housed Randy's supermarket. No. Down bottom tongue, down this one. Next to Eustace. That building, that was John Horn's building, housed both the CWSA and the National Lottery. Many of you don't remember this because I'm a little young. But the first place the lottery bin was in that building they were Randy's there right now. And also, CWSA was upstairs that building before the headquarters were built. I know a lot of you don't remember that. That was John Horn building. The NDP looked for its own. When the old library building was abandoned by the NDP, they went into Middle Street in a building, again, owned by John Horn. May he rest in peace. Now deceased. You are going here just now. Who was building two ministries? The one run by the MP for North Windward, Sehon John, and the other ministry run by my good friend, I love you to death, Lavon Bellox. Those two ministries are going in one building. Don't worry. Just now, I go see and hear who's building that be, and they go realize the world is a cycle. You're spinning wrong, and wrong, and wrong. But what created a pro more than anything else? We get in there now. We get in there. What created a pro was the fact that the list made its way to the public domain before they were ready. So they hadn't come up with anything yet, and the list was out. As a matter of fact, by the way, before I even talk about that, somebody reminded me that on the Mercy Committee is the MP for North Windward, the Honourable Sehon John. You know, so I respectful, I call everybody by their proper title. The MP for North Windward, the Honourable Sehon John. He's on the Mercy Committee. And somebody said to me today, Sehon, do you know that the husband of the Honourable Sehon John has an active matter in the courts involving assault of a police officer? I said, no, I don't know that. And I have to verify that. So I still don't know. And that's an allegation. But that raises a question. Why would Sehon John be on the Mercy Committee if her husband has an active matter going to the court of law? Why? Is that a strategic appointment? Why would a minister whose husband has an active matter before the courts of law be placed on the Mercy Committee? Now, the Mercy Committee is a committee that reviews pardons, that has pardoned people. I ask a question. They don't have to answer. They could come and cuss me and tell me how much me retarded and me dip on gravy train and me had allegations in New York back in 2017. They could come and tell me all them things. That's all right. By the way, let me get a joke. Somebody messaged me. Somebody commented on my one of my programs and said, at least none of the members of them ever beat up their wife. I wanted to respond so badly. None of the MPs. I wanted to respond You want to bet on that? Because I have evidence, There are things I just don't say. I just keep them because I have some decorum and some training, and there's certain things I just don't do. I don't get involved in them things there. But I have the evidence. I have the thing on them. I have them. So going back to MP, the Honorable Sehon John, is it a strategic appointment to have her on the Mercy Committee, the committee that issues pardons to convicted individuals? Or is it a mere coincidence that was overlooked? But you see, what happened after was that the list made it into the public domain, and in response, they got irritated and agitated. Now, remember I told you all that because of the waning in popularity of the NDP and the fact that individuals are already getting so fed up with them so early, they decided, boy, let me go back to something that is tried and tested. When we throw the Ralph bone, the Ralph meat, give our supporters, that is going to really rile up. And at this stage, I feel we have to go back to the Ralph meat because they don't start to turn pan away. So let me distract them. So far, not much that we've done has impressed them. Not much that the NDP has done has impressed, pleased, satisfied, or been in any way close to what they promised they would do. And people are already responding negatively. So what they decided to do, they decided to throw some red meat. Let's talk about Ralph again. Let's talk about Labour. So they organized these retribution events where they would go and bring NDP supporters together. It's an NDP function, but they use the state media and so on to broadcast it. And in those retribution events, they allow these individuals to get up and rant about Labour and cuss. Because the truth is, they still can't get over Labour. They win, they may not in government, they're supposed to be governing, but they can't get over Labour. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? People are coming to me. Somebody posted a list on the Present Please for today, I believe, showing Rosette Bennett name or Alison Thomas name and so forth. And I'm asking, what's the point exactly? You see, because understand my position, For 25 years, you preach how corrupt Labour be. And you pointed to a number of things as examples of the corruption. And you repeated them over and over and over. And you tell people, vote them out because they're corrupt. So, a majority of persons listened to you and decided to do just that. We voted them out because I like how they're appointing boards. We voted them out because Storm a house. We voted them out because Sehon Marshall get press secretary and he had allegations against him and so on and so on and so on. We voted them out. Okay. We voted out, voting against Ralph because he out of place, he cussing public servants. Okay. All right. So majority of persons eventually say, okay, I side with you. Let me vote them out because of all of those things. So today when I say that Bramble threatening public servants, we're going to tell me, but Ralph used to do it too. We know. You told us that already. And you told us to vote him out because of it. So why are you talking about Ralph? How is the justification for the mess that your people them doing a point to what Labour did that people voted them out for? That you told people you should vote them out for. You see, Labour said back in 2001, 1998, listen, NDP is failing our 12-year-olds. Many of them, too many of them are not going to secondary school. As a matter of fact, almost 60% of them are going to secondary school. Vote them out. We go take care of children. We want to provide more opportunities for youth Vincentians for university education. We want to provide better opportunity for housing. We want to make it easier for public servants to own homes, and so on and so forth. And what did Labour do? Labour moved it from 40% going to secondary school to universal access. So we don't have to go back and go, well, we had 40% because NDP had 40%. No, we told you we want to do it better. We told you vote for change. And we effected that change. We took it from 40% to 100%. We told you, vote out the NDP because 40% of St. Vincent and Grenadines lived in poverty and 28% lived in abject poverty. Vote for change. And what did we do? We changed that from 26% abject poverty to 3% abject poverty. That's what change is. That's what changes. We told you not enough of our people are going to university because the NDP only giving 4 national scholarships and not enough teachers are trained university level in our primary schools. Vote for change. And what did we do during the years in government? We expanded these scholarships to now hundreds and all kind of tuition assistance and so forth. And so now maybe close to 65% of all teachers in primary school have university qualification. That's what change is. Change can be vote out Ralph and Labour because they put in certain people on boards. Vote we in, and then you go and put your friends and your family and go, oh, we did a change, but Ralph did have Sehon Marshall and Hans King and Lennox Bowman and so on. Well, me and Gonzalez. You can't point to what you considered and told people to be wrong as a justification for the rubbish you're doing. So yes, as I was saying, because we run out of time. My partner said to me, I might actually have to go over time today because I want to finish this. So it might be a little longer tonight. You bear with me, please. The gentleman who met me yesterday asked me why is only an hour's give. You might be happy tonight. So in response to that, Fitz Bramble decide, normal, the frustration creeping in. Because before they could do anything, the people turning on them. How the list reach out there? We ain't got the list yet. How it reach out there? So, in one of the retribution meeting, one of the retribution events, Fitz Bramble decided he going to take a ton on public servants. He decided that the problem is not the list of friends and family. The problem is that people know that the list is friends and family. And so in one of the retribution rallies, Fitz may have figured that enough individuals in the retribution event weren't getting up and being agitating enough. So he decided to throw some red meat to the crowd. Listen to Fitz Bramble.
And I am saying categorically, who vexes their problem. If there's any public servant who is acting outside of their professional responsibility, whether intentional or not, to undermine the New Democratic Party government, they will not be there. Plain and simple. You can't be there. And I know the leader of the opposition come and talk about, civil service orders and ministers can't hire and fire and all this sort of stuff. The buck stops with us. The people elected us to do their business. And if there are persons in the government service employed as public servants who are going to be derelict in their duty because the civil service orders clearly indicate how you should conduct yourself as a public servant. If you go outside of that, there must be consequences. Come on. We need to stop hiding behind this nonsense about, NDP gone to victimize. Nobody victimizes anybody. If you go and undermine our government, there will be consequences. Plain and simple. End the story.
There's a lot to unpack there. So that's why I say I might have to go over time because I only have 10 more minutes and I will deal with this because you have plenty to unpack. So Fitz Bramble takes the mic and decides to chide the public servants by issuing a threat to them about how they perform their duties. Interestingly, he said, he speaks about anyone who acts outside of their professional duties. I'm not sure exactly what he's referring to. Maybe you do, and you can help me. He says, if while acting outside of your professional duties, you are seeking to undermine the government, you will not be there. Now, again, what does that mean? Are you threatening to transfer a public servant? Or are you threatening to fire a public servant? None of which you, as the minister, can do. There is a Public Service Commission. Now, Boucher could help me here on this one. But it seems that Boucher mouth full right now of food, so he can attack. I invite him more than one time on the show, he never answer me. Because he don't depend board. But I believe this is the very first opportunity that Boucher has had to come out against a statement, a direct statement from a member of the executive, from a member of cabinet, from a minister of government, threatening public servants. Boucher, Elroy Boucher, the president of the Public Service Union, should have already issued a statement on behalf of that union cautioning the minister about the threats made to public servants. But Boucher about full. Attack. So public servants, you don't realize on all your own because Boucher don't show you which side you're on. So he's concerned about public servants acting outside of their professional duties, undermining the government. And he said, the leader of the opposition, Dr. Gonzalez, has talked about public service and so on. But he don't care about that. Basically, that's what he's saying. He care about that because the bucks stop with him. Well, here's what stops with you, Bramble. As Minister of Foreign Affairs, what is the situation with the request of the US for St. Vincent and the Grenadines to take refugees from other countries? What is the situation? That stops with you. Tell us about that, Fitz Bramble. Stop threatening public servants and tell me, have we decided if we're going to take them? How many are we going to take? Where are we going to put them? Who's taking care of them? Whose expense? They are going to be taken care of at whose expense? What are the categories of refugees coming in? That rests squarely on your plate. That stop with you. By nothing. Instead, you're busy threatening public servants because a list was leaked and you're happy about it. You know what'll stop with you? Cuba. They're squeezing. They're being squeezed by the US right now. You just appointed your Angela, my friend, Aidisha, to go Cuba. Has she gone yet? Is she going? What are we doing? The leader of the opposition said that we should send food supplies and so on to Cuba. We are rice mill and we are flour and so on. What is happening? Our students who are over there, what's their condition? You're the Minister of Foreign Affairs. That stops with you, I know for sure. Talk about that. Tell the parents of those students what's going on and what plans St. Vincent and the Grenadines has in place to deal with those students. Because as Minister of Foreign Affairs, that stops with you. You see this bravado and this arrogance that you're going wrong with, boss. Calm down. Because you know something? The public servants going to show you there's only mouth you have. Because here what I am going to remind you of. While in opposition, the same public servants gave you documents, gave your party documents. You got information. You and members of your party were able to go on your radio programs. You and members of your party were able to go on your radio programs, on your meetings platforms, and so forth, and reveal information. NIS, this, that. You always be talking about a poverty assessment that was never published, but you're always talking about it. How y'all get it? Is it because public servants were derelict in their duties, Fitzbramble? Because if it never published, but you and others in the party talking about it and quoting figures, is it because public servants were derelict in their duties and gave you information that you didn't have access to? But let me tell you something. Plenty to talk about. Prior to 2003, this country was in a lot of secrecy under the Mitchell administration. People couldn't get information. This government, the Ralph Gonsalves administration, was responsible, I want to give you the proper name, for the passing of Act number 27 of 2003. Not 1998, not 1993, 2003. That Act number 27 of 2003 is called the Freedom of Information Act. Is this government that freedom of information from public bodies? You see, the previous administration, you couldn't get nothing. That's why you had to have white angels and so on. But during the ULP administration, information was there. Because this administration passed the Freedom of Information Act. And if you go to Section 3 of the Act, that outlines the object of the Act. Freedom of Information Act, Act number 27 of 2003. It's volume 11, chapter 367. Right? Find it, you could go and look it up and ask it and so on. Objects of the Act. Section 3, subsection 1. The object of this Act is to extend the right. So this government, not this government, sorry, the ULP administration made it a right of intention, members of the public, to access information in the possession of public authorities. That right never existed before. In 17 years, the NDP administration never saw it as a right of members of the public to access information of public bodies. So all the railing, and they're railing about the names on the list. I'm going to tell you why. So this act, the object of this act is to extend the right of members of the public to access information in the possession of public bodies by A, making it available to the public making available to the public information about the operations of public authorities and, in particular, ensuring that the rules and practices affecting members of the public in their dealings with public authorities are readily available to persons affected by those rules and practices. B, creating a general right of access of information in documentary form. In other words, you could ask for document, print this, give me, print that, give me. In the possession of the public authorities, limited only by exceptions and exemptions necessary for the protection of essential public interests and the private and business affairs of persons in respect to whom information is collected and held by public authorities. So you could go income tax and get information, but you can't get information about people's personal tax information and so on. There's some limitations, and we get to that just now. See, creating a right. Now, notice the law gives members of the public, Vincentians, a right to access information from public bodies. But if you listen to radio station this week, but leak, the list leak, and how that go, and who leak the list, and there should be consequences for a public body. For a public body. There's a right. Creating a right to bring about the amendment of records containing personal information that is incomplete, incorrect, or misleading. So, the ULP recognized that the previous administration, that there was such a dearth of information. People didn't have, they didn't have access to information that affected their lives with public bodies and so on. That's why a gentleman whose name I wouldn't call him a program, just call all public bodies and harass them, bully them, because he knows there's a access to information act. An act that gives you the right to get the information, Freedom of Information Act. Now, when we go to Section 7 of the Act, Section 7 of the Act is interesting because it brings home what I want to talk about a little bit more. Publication of information concerning functions, etc., of public authorities. So what is Lotto, national properties, national parks, whatever, public authorities? This is what the Act says. 7.1a. A public authority shall, with the approval of the minister, cause to be published in the Gazette as soon as practicable, but no later than 12 months after the date of availability of the forms approved by the minister. One, and this is the important part, because it addresses the upheaval that we just had last week. One, a statement setting out the particulars of the organization and functions of the public authority, indicating, as far as practicable, the decision-making powers and other powers affecting members of the public that are involved in those functions. Who are members of the public involved in the function of making decisions for public authority? Who? Board members, maybe? Members of the public. So they're really working with the authority, members of the public. The public body that published that. That should be available. And what that so remember we're at 7.1a. That section 7 also says that 7.1b, because 7.1a has A1, A2, A3, and A4. So we go to B, and B says that they should also update the information every year as changes occur. So when new board members come on, if you change the function and so on, all that information should be published and made public. So the list of the board members is something to hide up and hold to your chest and vex because people know. Because you have a Freedom of Information Act that says that should be readily available to the public. There are some exceptions, things like cabinet, things that are brought to cabinet for consideration, the minutes of the cabinet and so forth. Things under oath of secrecy, confidential information, things dealing with national security and so on. There are some exceptions. But generally speaking, members of the board of an organization is subject to an oath of secrecy, the national security matter. We have Freedom of Information Act. But here are how the two things linked. I'm bringing it home. You see, the problem is that exposing the list showed individuals how the NDP is using these appointments merely as political rewards. Merely as political rewards. So people seeing that. And people are calling it out. And so the hypocrisy of trying to chastise and threaten people because they feel people leaking something that they benefited from while they were in opposition is something else. There's a lady on the board. She's the chairman of the board of the National Lottery. She's called Luan Hathaway. I know Luan. Not personally as friends, but my ex-wife worked at the Bank of St. Vincent and Grenadines while Luan worked there. So I know her. I'm familiar with her. We were at least cordial. We'd say hi and so forth. She knows my name. I know hers. She worked at the Bank of St. Vincent and Grenadines, or the NCB. But her employment at the bank ended abruptly. And Luan can tell us why, because she didn't retire. You see, back in 2009, during the referendum, a list appeared on social media and was being read out on Nice Radio. And I'm doing this because Luan came after me already, and I just ignored she because of the time will come right. She came on one of our posts and talked about domestic abuse and blah, 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 blah. So I just ignored Luan because I know, listen, monkey say, cool breeze, wait till fire burn them. So in 2009, a list surfaced. A list that contained sensitive banking information of customers of the NCB. My name was on the list. Had account information, had foreign forex transactions, people who had changed money and so on over a period of time. And it was being read out on radio. It was on Facebook and so on. Sensitive, confidential information of customers of the bank were all over social media, all over radio. At about the same time, there was an interruption to Luan's appointment at the bank. So Luan, maybe you can tell us, did your interruption of employment at the bank have anything to do with the leaking of that information to Nice Radio and other members of the NDP? Or was it just a coincidence? Was it that you took early retirement at that time when that thing happened because you figured, I work too much, when I go home, go just relax myself, I work too hard, I work too long? Or was your position made redundant? Was it? I don't know. I'm asking you. Did you, Luan Hathaway, have anything to do with the leaking of people's personal account information at the Bank of St. Vincent and Grenadines, formerly the NCB, around 2009? And did that have anything to do with the interruption of your employment at the bank? Now, Luan continued living and life and so on and so on and so on. But I would hate to think, because remember, the NDP talking about leaking and sabotage. Clearly, anybody, any organization would go, well, boy, if that is the case, I'm not saying that it is, Luan will tell you because she's honest and she's upstanding, because she's coming after me, and she's a woman of integrity and so on. So she's going to be honest and tell you whether or not she did. But a responsible party, I guess, if in fact they were so, those allegations, or there is any connection between the two, would go, yeah, boy, that person, they have no integrity. That person can't be trusted with people's personal, financial account information. So I'm not sure I could put them in a position to safeguard sensitive information because there's a track record. Now, again, this is only if there is any connection between the leaking of the list containing people's personal banking information back in 2009 and Luan's interruption of employment at the said bank where the customers were at around the same time. Correlation is not causation. So that's why I'm asking her the question. But guess what? Luan is now the chairman of the board of the National Lottery Authority. So I ask him, okay, there may be nothing, no connection whatsoever at all with Luan and the leaking of the list and so forth. And there was no connection between the interruption of her employment at the bank and those actions, none whatsoever. Then fine, she's clear. Okay, cool, be the chairperson. But if there is, then it would appear to me that Fitzbramble, the NDP, is offering a political reward for someone who acted unethically, unprofessionally, put people's information out in the public, put the institution at risk of legal action against them. Why would he turn around and give such an individual an important post? I mean, for example, I would think if that was somebody else, can I say Bling? Bling? You vex me? No. So let me say Bling. A partner Bling. Bling partner. You ain't go vex. If that's Bling, and Bling leaking people information like that, sensitive information, I might say, boy, Bling might leak numbers. Bling might concoct some kind of scheme at the lotto because he likes to leak. He likes to leak. There's a record of him. I mean that's a serious thing, you know. That's a serious thing. So maybe it is that the NDP doesn't know about the situation, or they do know, did the investigation cleared Luan and say, so there's nothing, cool. There's no connection whatsoever between the two. And of course, Luan being the post of integrity who decides to come and come after me and talk about allegations that I have denied. I have categorically denied them and continue to deny them. But I don't stop them, her, or anybody from coming up with them. And okay. So you have that particular situation, and you're asking, I think she's the treasurer of the NDP, so she's doing political work and so forth. But she's now on the board. And apparently, seems that other members of her family, her husband, is the chairman of the board as well. Wife, husband, wonderful. Friends and family. They're like AT&T. And then public servants whispering and pinching me and going, Mr. Marshall, hello? Now that the new government in office, you're seeing all the people, them getting the little promotion and so forth, and the little people asking, oh, so that was the leak in the department all the time. Again, correlation is not causation. So the fact that the two seem to align, that doesn't mean the fact that leaks were happening in the department, and as soon as NDP win, somebody's made a PS or SAS or something, doesn't mean that they're being rewarded with the promotion because they leaked. That's not what I'm saying. It may be purely coincidence. But I'm having severe difficulty convincing public servants that no, it's just a coincidence. They say, nah, Mr. Marshall, we're talking about comrade, a coincidence way. So you're in a position You get leaks. You don't hide the fact that you get leaks. You put them on social media, you read them on radio station and so on. You refer to them, you wave letters and so on. You remember during the campaign? Even shallow got leaks. Did you hear anybody threatening public servants over the files that Shallow had? And some of those things, of course, like when, for example, people talk about contracts as if contracts are publicly registered at the registry. Anybody can go and search for a contract because it's there. So here we have an opposition that decided, while I'm in opposition, here's where the government, that while they were in opposition, they were getting information from public servants who thought they were acting in what is their best interests or the interest of their party, which was at the time the opposition party, but clearly not in the interest of the government. Listen, I used to question nurses, police, teachers. And I remember one time when I was in the UN, myself and the then ambassador, Rhonda King, had a conversation. And she thought it was interesting. I said, listen, if you're employed by the government, and the government is given a mandate because they campaign, they have the policy, and they have a policy to execute, and you're responsible for the execution of the policy, and you feel strongly enough against that policy, you have strong feelings against that policy and its execution, that you can't do it, you'll either ask for transfer or resign. That's my philosophy. You had teachers who openly criticized the education revolution, talk the worst ways about the education revolution, the policy that they are responsible for executing in schools. Nobody voted those teachers. They voted the government. The government said they're going to have an education revolution. They laid out elements of the education revolution. Teachers on Facebook, doing lives and posts, are speaking the worst ways about the education revolution. But they're responsible to implement it. Is that undermining the government? Nurses speaking, acting in the worst ways about our health system. Are they undermining the health system? But it was okay when you were in opposition because you hug up those teachers, you hug up those nurses, you hug up those police officers, because their actions were in your interest while you were in opposition. Bramble, do you remember during the protests that you went up to a senior police officer and were making certain overtures to him? But no, you have mouth. And anybody who, in your estimation, because the buck stops with you, who undermine the government must face consequences. You see how it goes? Old people say, anybody who's scary could just bring coming now. And so you should realize, or you should have realized, that the same people who brought leaks to you, when they fed up on you, they will carry leaks to somebody else. And I think you're learning that the hard way, and you can't deal with it. But there is a Freedom of Information Act that allows people to get information. And bro, it don't matter how much you try to plug holes, people will always print off a copy of something and give it to somebody if they feel that what is happening, they disagree with it. You benefited from it, and you could bet your bottom dollar they're going to suffer from it too. And they can't do nothing. You can't fire your soul, but you could huff and puff. Huff and puff. You could speak to your base that would lap that up. But rational thinking people just watching you and sucking the teeth. Because you got the leaks while you were in office, while you were in government. You got the leaks because you created a situation where you made people feel that all of these things were so openly and overtly evil. So because it was so evil for people to be on board, they would bring you that information. And you benefited and now you're in government. But they see you doing worst evil, if that's possible. Because they could say at least no minister wife was on the board. No minister brother was on the board. But they all talk this nepotism so much that now it's coming back to you. And so now it's coming back. You don't know how to deal with it. You don't know how to address it. Because it's something of your own creation. It's something of your own creation. But public servants, first thing, contact your union. It's called the Public Service Union. I believe the president is Elroy Boucher. And he should be making representation on your behalf and issuing a very strong statement to the government of this country that seems ready and willing to threaten public servants, threaten them into submission, threatening quote-unquote consequences, them not being there in their jobs if a minister feels that their actions are somehow undermining the NDP administration. They took the leaks. They rewarded politically individuals who fed them leaks. And now all of a sudden, they realize, oops, leaks are bad. Imagine, the frustration should not be with public servants. Because the truth is, the public servants are reacting out of frustration with you. Since you come in, it's confusion and chaos. You promise them things and they not deliver. By now, VAT should have been cut to 13%. You said that within 60 days. That's your promise. VAT on electricity. By now, the public servant should have gotten their increase that was negotiated with the government. You scrap that. You give them a one-off bonus. They spend it, it's done. So they're frustrated with you. Imagine, in the words of the teacher, young lady, I can't remember her name. This is the fastest she has seen a government got so unpopular. She said she has never seen a government in the history of the world gotten so unpopular so quickly. I thought Kamala Passad, Bissessa and Trinidad was bad, but NDP beat them back. They have gotten so unpopular that all categories of workers are expressing their frustration in different ways. It's been a while. Well, let me let me say, it's been a while. I've never heard anybody ask back for the vote. Have you? Have you? I have never heard I've never heard anybody ask back for their vote yet. First time in the history of elections, many people ask for their vote. First time. So we have a good friend, Melissa, here, who says we have for the Friday morning. But Melissa, why don't you tell us who Ralph fired? Just tell us one person Ralph fired. I realize you're probably in a basement somewhere and it's cold, but tell us who Ralph fired as you're able to type. Tell us who Ralph fired. Anyway, when you come up with somebody who Ralph fired, I'll have the director put it up on the screen. So they're frustrated with you. And so they're expressing their frustration with you. They're expressing their frustration with you. You can't get back at them by threatening to fire them. You gotta do better. Look, I'll be honest with you as I close the program and tell you. I'll be honest with you and tell you. I didn't expect much from the NDP in government. I didn't. I honestly did not expect much from the NDP in government. But I wish them well. And I hoped, in the interest of Vincentians, that at least they would just cover the basics. But they're not even getting that right. They're not even getting that right. And so what you're seeing and hearing from public servants and other people, daily paid workers and others who didn't get the bonus you promised them, is an expression of their disappointment, their frustration, their dismay, and in many instances, especially with your own supporters, their anger with your poor performance thus far. Try and change course and do better. Because you can't threaten your way out of this situation. You'll actually be digging yourself in a much deeper hole. My friends, as I come to the end of the program, let me thank you so much for sticking around. All those of you who did, from wherever you logged on from, really appreciate the support. And again, let me encourage you to share it. Share it on your WhatsApp. Share it on your Facebook pages and so forth. Those of you who have already subscribed, you can go a step further and you can activate a membership. You have two plans, a $3.99 plan and a $6.99 plan. Now, this is not available for people in St. Vincent and Grenadines, unfortunately, because YouTube doesn't allow it here, but individuals who are in North America, who are in Europe and so forth, they can do that. They can log on and they can activate a membership so that they can support this program financially. Those of you who just want to support it outside of that, again, just send me a message on Facebook, wherever you're linked with me, and we can discuss how you can support the program as well. Let me keep it going, because clearly, people like Melissa again triggered, so triggered that they'd come on for the entire hour and a half and try and distract us. So let me keep them coming, all right? And as always, thank you again for your support of Present Please. You making that thing so viral. I never expected it to be where it is. And it's all because of you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And until next Thursday, I want to wish you a fantastic weekend and an even better week. Take care. Good